Hello Aries, and welcome to your monthly horoscope for August. This is for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you the key strands to look out for, but please stay with me. I will then dive deep to give you in forensic detail all the specific influences that are going to impact on your sign in particular. Now, as this month begins, the Sun and also Mercury are in your sister fire sign of Leo, and that gives you a platform to express yourself. But you're going to have to toggle a little bit in terms of your time management, because quite a few people may want a piece of you this month, and because of the full moon, which occurs in the friendly sign of Aquarius, and that's on the 12th, well, that's in a square with the rather disruptive influence of Uranus. And Uranus is in your sector of values and money. So maybe some of the shifts that are going to be going on in terms of your love life, in terms of your friendship or your social interactions could be predicated in some ways because your ideals and those of others could come into a bit more of a conflict, and it may even be about money. But also your ruler is going to be in a tense right angle with Saturn from the 3rd through to the 12th. And that also is emphasizing where your values may not necessarily align with people who in the past perhaps you've been drawn towards. But your ruler on the 20th goes into the sign of Gemini, where it's going to be through to the 25th of March next year. Now, this is an extraordinarily long and extended transition through this sign. Usually Mars takes 6 weeks to pass through each zodiac sign. So moving through the sign of Gemini, it's going to see you want to punch across your ideas with much greater passion and enthusiasm. You may even be thinking about a new mode of transport during that time. But it is going to be going into a retrograde on the 30th of October, and through October and November it is in a very tricky right angle with Neptune. If you want to understand more about those influences, please check out my special deep dive video into Neptune's retrograde through the very delicate 12th house of your situation. But then on the 27th, we have a new moon in your sector of efficiency, practicalities, ensuring that all the nuts and bolts of your situation are well oiled and working in a very proficient way. And that is also in a square with Mars. So you can see that your ruling planet is coming in for a lot of activity this month. It even is in a rather positive angle with Mercury during the last week of this month, and that ability to express your ideas very succinctly with a lot of passion and enthusiasm, it's going to be enhanced. But Mars is about instant gratification. It's also about urgency and your desire to say how you feel and really be authentically yourself. It is coming into some headwinds when it comes to the people that you socialize with, perhaps friendships, and those more romantic aspirations. So I think that's the big story of this month, but there's so much more to share with you, so please stay with me. If you would like to ascend above the Zodiac horoscopes and embrace more serious astrology, if you give me 3 pieces of your birth data, I can give you a roadmap that can guide you for the rest of your life. Also, within my special package, you can get a 12-month personal forecast. All of this 30% off, but very specific to you. No 2 charts are the same. Please see the link beneath this video. Now, by the time of watching this, I should have gone through the 100,000 mark in terms of subscriptions on YouTube, but if you have subscribed in the past, I'm so thankful for that. If you've yet to do so, please tap or click on that bell notification symbol. And hopefully now we can push forwards towards 105,000 subscribers as soon as possible. So Aries, your monthly horoscope for August. begins with the Sun and Mercury in the magnificent Leo. This is a beautiful opportunity to showcase your talents. The fifth house, which is represented by Leo, is very much about warmth and affection. Mercury, of course, is about how we think and communicate. It's going to be moving pretty soon on the 4th into the sign of Virgo, which it governs. So great for taking any ideas you have and moulding them into something quite organised and efficient. But from the 3rd through to the 12th, there is a clash between Mars, your ruler, and also Saturn. Saturn is particularly influential at any time. It is in a retrograde now, and it's in your sector of the future, and also where you connect with other people. It's also in the part of your scope to do with your higher values. Now Mars in house 2, as this month begins, is very much about consumption. It's about our desire to enjoy the more sensual pleasures of life, whether that's through getting up close and personal, good food, splashing out on a few luxuries here and there. But I think the restraint of Saturn, and then also the fact that Saturn's in a square with Uranus also in house 2, pretty well for the whole of this month within 3 degrees, is making us all aware, quite honestly, that things are tightening up, and it is likely to be the cost of living that's really having quite an impact. But house 11, as I said before, can also be a very idealistic area, and house 2 can be about our core values. And maybe your core values are going to go through some kind of transition this month, and that could see you moving away from certain people, but moving towards other people who can be very good for you. Now on the 11th, Venus makes its way into Leo, replacing Mercury, and this is a fabulous transit. This is where you can really come across in a very warm and affectionate way towards those people that are important to you. And Venus in this area as well could draw admirers in your direction. In fact, to be honest, Aries, if you are single and you'd like to meet somebody else, you could be a bit spoilt for choice. And that could be what the full moon, which occurs on the 12th, is very much about. Choice around people, choice around how you spend your time, and just trying to work out where you can be freely yourself. And the reason for that is Uranus, which is very much about the truth, but also in mythology, it's the ruler of the sky. It's in house 2, as I said. It's about those core values. So that's where the toggle is going to go on this month. I feel without any doubt at all, the last couple of weeks of August could see you, in some cases, even surprising yourself, making some decisions quite spontaneously about who you want to spend time with and who you don't. So just expect some changes through that period. Also from the 12th through to the 17th, the Sun, beautiful for you in the 5th house, in your sister fire sign of Leo, goes face to face with Saturn. Your physical vitality may drop with that, and that's really saying use the energy you have got in an appropriate way with the appropriate people. Now, there is from the 16th to the 20th a very lucky link between Jupiter and Venus. Now, these two planets, the greater and lesser benefics, can bring some joy in your direction. Of course, Jupiter is now in retrograde, but it is in your sign. So it's encouraging you to take the initiative. And with Venus in the 5th house, even though there are these modifying influences coming from the full moon with Uranus, from Uranus' square with Saturn the whole month, and from the Sun's opposition to Saturn too, those are all quite limiting. There are still potentials for you to connect, but I think the connection needs to be quite pure to endure. So I don't necessarily feel that the influences this month are so much about being free and easy. They're actually about raising your consciousness and then framing your needs within the influences that are there in a very appropriate way. And if you do that, it could be exciting. Now, a case of that can be when Mars moves on the 20th into the 3rd house. If you have been thinking about getting a bit physically more active, or you've been wanting to express yourself, perhaps through a website, perhaps through poetry, perhaps through music, perhaps through sport, then Mars moving through this area through the next 8 months is really going to be exciting for you. But it is going into a retrograde on the 30th of October, and it is going to be clashing with Neptune through October and November. There's actually going to be 2 exact squares. If you'd like to know more about that, please check out my deep dive video into the Neptune retrograde. But basically, your words, ideas and thoughts are going to be something that you'll want to express with a lot more vigour. And also, if you have been thinking about perhaps cycling or getting a motorcycle or even a car, an electric scooter, this kind of thing, Mars would be really good for all that kind of stuff. On the 23rd, however, the Sun catches up with Mercury, moving into Virgo. And of course, Virgo is all about the structure of situations and trying to make sure all the details are working well. If we get details all one by one, well calibrated and operating efficiently, that means our overall situation can really start to flow. But on the 24th, Uranus goes into a retrograde. This is the last of the higher octave planets slamming on the brakes, and it's going to be in retrograde through to the 21st of January next year. So Uranus in your sector of everyday resources, but also your values. Uranus is about the truth, but in the sign of Taurus, it's not at its best. So I think this can be a point where you're starting to think more creatively and imaginatively about how you can be innovative to make the most of the resources you do have. And you may have to dig down into your resources through to the 3rd week of January next year, but believe you can do it. There can be some very positive conversations that evolve from the 26th as Mercury goes into your opposite sign. But then on the 27th, we have a mighty Virgo new moon. Ordinarily, this would be a great opportunity for your sign to think about how you can get a bit fitter, perhaps think about the type of work you do, make sure that your house is nice and organised and running just as you want, like a shining pin. But this one is squaring up with Mars. So it can create a certain amount of nervous tension. So if you're in a job, for example, which the 6th house governs, that there is quite a lot of stress attached to, or someone's a bit nitpicky, or doesn't let you have your voice, these are things that can be quite important to you as the month comes to a close. Also, Venus, glorious as it was when it moved into Leo, that's back into, this time, an opposition with Saturn. So you can see that Saturn is very powerful this month, along with Uranus and Mars. If there is a chink in any kind of close relationship, it definitely will show itself at the end of this month. But then, having said that, the last week also sees your ruler Mars, as I mentioned before, in a very potent link with Mercury. And if you need to speak your truth, that's going to help you to do so with a great deal of vigour and passion and enthusiasm. So just to recount, Aries, this is a month when you can express your talents. It could be a month when you're thinking a lot about relationships, be they personal, be they friendships, and your longer term future. But your financial resources are going to be very important to how things unfold. And there may be some choices that you need to make about how you toggle. But there can also be some real moments of opportunity. But I think any relationship which no longer fits with your values is very likely to make way. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Stay safe, take care, and goodbye.